Alrighty then. Well, I am DylanVerrano here with the Vice President who has recently announced his resignation for Monday. I have the opportunity of serving as a senior reporter here at CNN, and we are delivering the story as we find out more. In order to find out more about the Vice President's resignation and what it is that potentially pushed him to that edge where he did later on announce his resignation, I have the honor of inviting the Vice President here in this exclusive interview along with my co-host, Mr. Oliver. Mr. Vice President, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Alrighty then. Well, Mr. Vice President, if you mind, we're just going to go over some different questions that I'm sure the American people are eager to find out. First off, how are you?
I'm doing just great. How are you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal, Mr. Vice President. Thank you so much for asking. So what motivated you to deliver the press conference today?
Well, I felt as though it'd be a good Christmas present for certain group, and earlier today I watched a movie that sort of inspired me that sometimes in order to win the war you have to lose the battle now and then. So that's what I feel like I did.
Alrighty then. Well, do you feel as though it was your time? Were you pushed out of office, or?
Well, I felt as though I didn't have the confidence of the people of this group any longer. So I decided that it was the best, if the group was to move forward, that I step aside and allow someone else to fill my place.
Alrighty, Mr. Vice President. And if you could choose a successor, who would it be if you were at liberty to discuss, or feel as though it's needed to deliver a name?
That's for the president to decide, not myself. I don't have any successors in mind.
Alrighty then. Well, also, Mr. Vice President, you spent your entire career combating the establishment. Do you feel as though you became a part of that establishment in the process?
In a sense, yes, and that's sort of what pushed my resignation. However, I feel as though there's a growing conspiracy of this concept of this group of friends who control all things. I believe that group exists, and I believe that group's coming back to take power in the group. So I felt as though, in order to keep myself in a decent mood, that it was time for me to go.
Alrighty, Mr. Vice President. And you said that you're announcing it Monday, correct? Or that you'll be officially leaving office Monday?
Yes, midnight Monday.
Alrighty then. Well, also, if I can ask you, how do you feel as though the Reid administration is performing thus far?
There's a lot of room for improvement. I'm not going to sit and have a bash fest about things.
Definitely.
I think that, in all honesty, I feel as though the president has tried his best to fix the current situation that we're in. However, there are people who merely make the process impossible, like most difficult situations.
Okay then. And what do you plan on doing your last final days as the vice president? Can we expect the Senate session coming up, perhaps, where you're swearing in the last senators, your last time? Yeah, can we expect the session or perhaps special appearances that you'll be doing?
That'll be that'll come up sooner or later. I don't know. However, I don't believe that a Senate session or swearing in will occur under my watch because the Senate does not take office until the 1st of January.
Okay then. And also, Mr. Vice President, while I have you on the line, what do you feel as though your greatest accomplishment is since you've been vice president?
Well, I think my greatest accomplishment, unlike past vice presidents, I feel that whenever the Senate was actually active, I felt as though I was able to communicate ideas and what the people wanted effectively throughout the Senate, and I believe I was able to host successful sessions except here recently when the Senate fell apart, more or less.
Okay. Do you feel as though you contributed to the falling of the Senate, or do you have any comments or words of advice for the senator-elects that will take office in January?
Well, I don't feel as though that I personally led to the downfall of the Senate. I feel as though a lot of people sign up for these things and get way over their head. And whenever it comes down to doing the job, they're not interested in doing it after all.
Alrighty then. And also, I believe I find it strange, as well as the American public, that you've been almost the fourth member of the Reid administration to resign just in the course of these past 2 weeks. I've also brought with me former Secretary of Homeland Security, Mr. Timothy Redlin, if he's on the line with us. Secretary Redlin? Alrighty then. Well, I guess he's not on the call. Do you feel as though do you feel as though this is the end of the USA, Mr. Vice President?
So I don't feel as though this is the end of the USA. I feel as though this is the end of the USA as we know it. I, I believe personally a reason why a great many people resigned is because of the growing threats among the overseers of this purge of the administration, which has been handled very secretly, very quietly amongst the overseers and other people within the group.
Okay then. Well, Mr. Vice President, can you perhaps leave us with some words of inspiration? I know you delivered your press conference earlier today, which I was not able to attend. I do sincerely apologize. Do you have any words of advice that you'd like to leave your successor and/or the senator elects to take office in January?
Sure. If there's anything that I've learned from being vice president in this group or in politics in general, that you always have to hold your head high even whenever it seems as though everyone is out to get you. Because if you waver, if you give up, then that's ultimately what the people who are fighting you want. And therefore they become successful in their mission.
Alrighty. Do you feel as though so your career as a politician or as an elected public servant, I think that title would suit you more well. You've served in the Senate forever. You've passed and had a lot of accomplishments on your way. Something also that I'd like to mention is you are actually the first Republican vice president in our USA's history. What do you think that felt like being a different apple in the bunch?
Well, I mean, on paper, it looks like history, but I mean, whenever I got into the administration, it was just, I feel as though I was treated just like every other person who came into an administration.
Into
If
the
you get what I'm
administration.
saying.
Okay. And if you could fix one issue before leaving office, what would that issue be and why?
Well, if there was one issue that I could fix before leaving office and had the power of doing so, um, that is that's a very good question. I feel as though that requires some political correctness in which I don't feel tonight to answer
Okay.
that question.
And okay, well, I do respectfully accept that answer. Um, Also, CNN correspondent Mr. Oliver actually reached out to former Secretary of Homeland Security, Mr. Timothy Redmond, about his resignation, given that you aren't the only member of the administration to resign within the past 2 weeks, Mr. Vice President. If I am reading this correctly, the Mr. Secretary Redmond said that the downfall of this USA will continue unless we limit the power of the overseers, this being one of the biggest reasons I resigned. Would you like to comment on that?
Well, like I said, I feel as though what I said earlier, I strongly believe that a lot of the cabinet secretaries have left due to this immense push from the overseers and a secret group of folks who wish to obtain power in this group to basically more or less purge the government. Um, in all honesty, what I don't seem to understand is, every administration, every president, vice president, secretary, politician in general has its downfalls, and nothing against the current president, but everyone was gung ho about him. They followed him. They wanted him to be successful. And when things started to get difficult, people started running away, distancing themselves. Excuse me, sorry. And basically threw fresh meat out for the vultures and wolves at the first sign of blood. And if that trend continues, then this group isn't going to be very successful. No matter who's in power, no matter what person it is. I mean, in the end of the day, everyone's going to have their downfalls. Everyone's going to have their faults. And whenever people feel the need to conduct backroom meetings to throw that person out of that position just because they've had a bad day or a bad week or so, this trend's just going to continue.
Alrighty, Mr. Vice President. Also, another question that I had, maybe off of, maybe unrelated to your resignation. Overseer Clements posted a few days ago that he is having a Reformation Convention, basically bringing all of the leaders of the United States together, as well as the American citizens, to sit down and see the issues of our country and how it is that we can best fix them. Do you feel as though, as an overseer, that he's overstepping his power?
Well, I don't feel as though he's overstepping his power. I find it quite amusing that Mr. Clements has the sudden urge to come back from his college explorations to have a narrow-minded view of the group and a limited view of the group in which has been casted during, I believe, one of the group's darkest times. And quite honestly, I don't feel as though this whole convention or reformation group or whatever is going to bring a lot of change because it's just going to continue to be the same, the status quo.
Okay then. And also, will you be attending the Reformation Convention? And what part will you be playing, if any, at the convention?
I don't, like I said, I hate to be a bummer, but I feel as though this is just going to be a waste of time and energy because if there's anything that I've learned from being in this group, the people who want power are going to get it regardless, and that's what this convention more or less is to more or less oust the president, in my opinion, and bring usher in people who are on more favorable terms with the overseers and the people who conduct all of these backroom deals.
And Mr. Vice President, on a more unrelated note, I know that your resignation is going to bring a lot of sadness to the group.
I doubt
However,
it.
I. Alrighty, Mr. Vice President. Well, we definitely know that you have served your country. We definitely thank you for your service, both in the Senate and in the executive branch. One last question, maybe, and this probably won't be the last question, even though I'm saying that. What do you, if you had, and this is more fun question, considering we want to bring some kind of light into this dark situation. If you had one day in the White House that you were simply by yourself, what one thing would you do?
I would probably run up and down the halls naked and catch the walls on fire.
Alrighty, Mr. Vice President. Well, I definitely thank you for this interview. Where do those you're going to go after this? Are you going to
I'm
stay
going.
as a hobbyist or?
Well, like every good politician says after resigning, I'm going to go back home to my family, even though I don't have one. So,
Yes, sir, Mr. Vice President. Well, you can definitely consider me family.
well, that's very nice of you, Mr. Verano.
Yes, sir. Anytime that I can extend the invitation. Well, I thank you so much for joining us here at CNN Exclusive. We thank you so much for your time and energy in delivering this interview. We also thank you for your service to our great nation, and we hope that we continue to see you, whether it's in an elected office or not. Being able to lobby for reform and change in our community. We thank you again so much, Mr. Vice President, for being able to give us such a quick response, and we look forward to speaking with you very soon.
Before I leave, I'd like to thank the president for allowing me to serve as the vice president. And I'd also like to thank all of the people out there who hate me. You're my motivation, and there is more to come sooner or later.
Yes, sir. And one last thing, Mr. Vice President. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if you could, um, and this may be very far fetched, um, but if you could leave the American people with one word to solve all the problems in our USA, what would be that one word?
But to solve all the problems in this USA, I don't feel as though there is one simple word that can describe what needs to be done.
Alrighty then. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Vice President. We look forward to seeing you hopefully at the Reformation Convention. If not, then we definitely hope to see you somewhere in the Road Nation community, spreading love and spreading peace. So thank you so much, Mr. Vice President. I hope you have a Merry Christmas, and I hopefully will see you return to your family.
But one more. I hate to interrupt you.
Oh, you're fine, Mr. President.
There is a lot of talk about conspiracies and
Okay.
our main chat that in theories, for the conspiracies that I'd like to address. First of all, what you're claiming as a conspiracy, particularly to the backroom deals that have been occurring, these aren't conspiracies. These are legitimate facts. Um, I, for one, know that they're legitimate because I was added to a call the other night in which this was discussed, and I don't want to have a part in it. So, um, whoever the kind individual who wants to more or less throw out what I have said in this interview as conspiracies and theories of the conspiracies and conspiracy theories, um, you know, whatever, I guess.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, thank you so much,
If
Mr. Vice
you'd like to
President, for
go, if
joining us.
you'd like to go more in detail about conspiracies, the theories of conspiracies, conspiracies in general, I have all night more or less that I'd be more than happy to discuss it with you.
Well, most definitely, Mr. Vice President. And even if you'd like to make any closing remarks, feel free.
Well, you forgot the conspiracies. He also said that the USA is being taken over by a gang, and that James is conspiring against the USA by coming back from college and crap to help it. Thomas Colt, you never cease to amaze me. Funny how the gang has had such control since its birth. Well, James, that's because you have not no one in this group's allowed anyone but this gang to obtain power. So
Yes, sir.
if
Well, Mr. Vice
I know
President,
that
we thank you so much for your time.
I know that my esteemed friend Mr. Holt's still watching this live. Is there anything
Yes, sir.
else that you'd like to ask Thomas? Who is in the gang? Well, maybe if you're around long enough and opened your eyes to see what was going on, you'd know who's a part of this gang. It's not really hard to tell.
Alrighty, Mr. Vice
Why don't
President.
let's add the overseer. I think that would be an interesting turn of
Well, Mr.
events.
Vice, Mr. Vice President, with permission from, of course, the CEO of CNN, I definitely like to do that. However, I do thank you for your time, and actually, I have extended our meeting to I've been called up to questions from members of the USA, and hopefully we can get something in that can be asked. So definitely, we do appreciate your feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Alrighty then. Well, let me get. Hold on one second, Mr. Vice President. We're going to take another call.
Sure. Oops, added one too many. There we go. I have to go.
Alrighty, Mr. Vice President. Well, it was definitely a pleasure having you here. And in the event that
It's a
overseas.
shocker, isn't it? Ah,
Hello. I believe that was overseas.
you're talking, I can't hear you.
Mr. Clements. Alrighty, Mr. Vice President. Are you still there? Mr. Vice President?
I can't hear you.
Alrighty then. Well, Mr. Clements, are you there? Mr. Clements?
No, I can't. I'm having technical difficulties. Hold on.
Alrighty, bear with us for just 1 second. We have just gotten comment from Vice President Morneau, giving us more details about what he is, what he intends to do in the future, and more information about his resignation.
This is what happens when you have a really shit mic.
Mr. Clements? Mr. Clements?
Ah, I hear you. There we go.
Hello?
Yes, I hear you now.
Alrighty
Hello?
then. Yes, I'm just informing the viewers that we have just finished our interview with the Vice President. Actually, Overseer Clements is
I
on the
hear
line
you.
now.
There we go.
Clements, what do you feel about Vice President's words? Hello?
Well, he's not the vice president anymore.
Well, he still is.
Yeah, I hear you now.
Alrighty then.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm giving of Philip. I think that the only thing I hear that is a thing that exists in, America.
Yes, sir.
We Americans like to boast in our wealth, and so we invented this thing called Christmas.
Well, definitely. Mr. Clements, earlier I had the Vice President on the line. He was discussing the Reformation Convention that you were conducting tomorrow. He
Yes.
commented, I'm not actually quoting him for what it is, and excuse me if this is any bit off. However, he did mention that he feels as convention, nothing positive will generate from it, and he feels as though it's nothing more than just talk. Would you like to comment on that?
Well, I guess you'll have to show up at the convention and find out now. Won't you?
Well, definitely, Mr. Clements. How are you enjoying your Christmas?
I enjoyed it thoroughly, actually.
That's
How did you
good to
enjoy
hear.
yours?
Well, actually,
Um,
I got a lot of new gadgets, and actually a new car, and many other things. So life is good on this side.
it's very sad to see how many Americans and on Roblox right now are arguing over very trivial matters.
Yes, sir.
There
Well,
will
Mr.
be change, and there are
Okay,
some big announcements coming up tomorrow.
okay, Mr. Clements, could you inform us or give CNN a sneak peek of what we can expect?
No, I can't do that.
Mr. Clement. That's fine. Well, Mr. Clement, what role will you be playing in the Reformation Convention? Are you having some form of a round table of leaders
Um,
from our USA, or what
okay,
will be the setup for the American people?
basically, the convention is I want anyone and everyone that can come that is in our United, and they will voice opinions on anything and everything they want to voice their opinion on, whether it be the overseer rank existence, the existence of Congress, the existence of the presidency, who they want as president, how they want presidential elections, how they want elections, who they want in the overseer rank. Anything and everything is out and on the table to discuss on tomorrow. Now, whether or not some of their concerns are taken into fruition and become a thing or not, now that's up to me. But consider what's going to happen tomorrow somewhat of a rebirth. There is some major change a coming.
Yes, sir. Mr. Clements, if you don't mind me asking, what motivated you or inspired you to do a reformation convention? We've always had senators in the past do town hall meetings. I even did them when I served formally in the Senate. What motivated you to this point? And
Well,
exactly. So, what
see,
motivated you to this reformation convention, and what results do you predict will come out of it?
okay. For actually quite a long time, I've been wanting to do or somewhat of a reform of the group, but most of the populace in our group was very, very anti involvement from the overseers, which is understandable. The people want a democratic process, and that I tried to give it to them. And this is why I'm having a convention. I'm letting the people come to us overseers to speak, rather than just issuing an overseer ruling and making it just sweeping reform by the swipe of my hand. So the hope for the convention is, in the short term, it gives the people a sense of security and that things are finally going to change. Now, the reason that it's happening now rather than a month or two ago is because the people have finally caught up. They've finally said it's enough. I ran a very small poll yesterday, and on that small poll, now I'm not saying this is very accurate or not, but 75% said yes, they want intervention. And
Okay.
by now, I took that in consideration, and that's why we're having this convention. In the long run, I'm hoping that this convention and the changes that take place within it and over the course of the next 2 or 3 weeks lead to a more stable and productive country. That's the overall goal.
Yes, sir. Well, if you don't mind me asking, do you feel as though if you could name three key issues that are holding the USA back from thriving, what would be those three issues?
Well, I think that activity is a problem. I think that many politicians in our country are very greedy and just want to, like I said in the statement, they want to step on everyone to get to the top, not realizing that after they've stepped on everyone and they've become a leader, they have no one to lead. the group is dying, and there will be discussions with the the architect exorcist on speeding up the development of
Okay.
DC, at least moderately. This is an ongoing discussion, and on that third issue, I doubt much change will come, but there will be discussions on that as well.
Yes, sir. Mr. Clements, and if you could, what right now the USA is having tremendous troubles in the State Department under former presidents. I'm not going to name any names for the sake of staying neutral. However, we have lost both our standing in the EU as an observer state and our standing in the United Nations. How is it that we can begin to reclaim our foreign recognition?
That's not up to me. I am mostly, my job is of internal matters. That is what the overseer is to do. The overseer is to ensure the survival of our nation, and it's reached the point to where I have to do that. Now it's up to who the people elect to the presidency, and by and large, who he then nominates as his Secretary of State, and who the Senate determines is good for the position of Secretary of State. That will determine our standing in row nations in general.
Okay then, and also, Mr. Vice, not Mr. Excuse me, Mr. Clement. If there was one thing that you could suggest to our legislature, what would be that one thing? What could be that key thing, and hoping to see more productivity coming from our legislature?
Do your job. People sent you there to do a job. Do it. Stop trying to, just work your way up. Oh, I'm a representative now. Now I want to be the minority leader. Now I want to be the majority leader. Now I want to be the whip. Now I want to be the speaker pro tem. Now I want to be the speaker. Now I want to be the president of the United States. Do your job, and let the people decide whether or not you deserve to be promoted.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Clements, for having. I am also very honored to have you here tonight. I know I took you a little bit from your Christmas break. However, I do know that you care dearly about our nation's survival, and I do thank you for taking the time out of your holiday to definitely address these issues that the American people find very concerning, and giving us very substantial answers in hopes to reform our United States and hopefully reclaim our foreign recognition. Would you like to close out with anything?
I do want to make sure that people understand that I have no ill will towards Matt Boy and his administration. I actually consider Matt Boy a close friend and confidant, and I hope he stays in the United States and stays an active member in our government. He is a very good man, and the people should need to understand that. He's devoted a lot of time to this country and its survival. And when many of our leaders packed up and ran away and stabbed us in the back, and when I went off to college, he stayed around and he led this country, and I congratulate him for that, and I thank him.
Alrighty, Mr. Clements. Well, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Christmas, whatever it is that you may have left of it. This was a CNN exclusive. We just finished up with the Vice President of the United States discussing his resignation, which will be official on Monday. And then we also had the privilege of interviewing the Overseer Clements, who is hosting a Reformation convention. Could you be able to tell us that date again, or the time?
It will be tomorrow. It will be tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern Time. Location still to be determined. It would be at DC, but I want anyone and everyone that wants to be able to come And so, as we all know, DC is somewhat unstable at the moment, for lack of a better word.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Clements. I hope you enjoy the rest of your holiday. And this is CNN exclusive. We will continue to follow up on the events following the Reformation Convention. Thank you so much, Mr. Clements.
You're welcome.